Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Toon Talk with Big Stu and Hot Tuna. I am Hot Tuna. I'm very excited to be here, and I understand that the last episode went really well, so we're going to do another one. This episode is going to be heavily based on Looney Tunes, which, of course, as Stu and I described last time, was something that we watched very regularly. I mean, practically every day and on weekends back in the 1970s from shows that were based on the 1950s. But before we go any further, I have to introduce my co-host. Here he is, Big Stu.
Yes, it's me. I'm back. I'm here with the Hot Tuna who bought himself a sweatshirt today with his face on it at the end. I'm telling you, I don't know about you people, but that picture there of him with the end of the fish there, it's freaking me out. That's all I'm saying. But you know what? If you guys think it's cool, then let it be cool.
Yeah, I actually, I've mentioned this before, that I'm very surprised that people actually like to buy shirts and hats and other items with my face on it. But they are very excited about it. It sells very well, and Chad sells it at Commonwealth Dry Goods. With me also is the producer, Jim Jester, who does a great job in the show. Welcome, Jim.
Hey there, boy.
And, Jim, I believe it's going on sale very quickly this weekend, as I understand, the Hot Tuna jackets.
Yes, Christmas in June is June 24th at Commonwealth Dry Goods.
Yes, and we're all very, very excited that this is going to be an item that's going to be available at Commonwealth Dry Goods. So thank you very much, Stu, for mentioning it. I was able to get an early edition of it, and I'm very excited that I'll have this jacket for the weekend. So Stu, we're very, as I mentioned before, the show went extremely well last time. It was very well received. And so people were clamoring for a second episode, and that's what we have here. And you've mentioned to me just offline that really the only contact you have about this show is actually directly with me via messages that I send you, via conversations we have. Sometimes I will send you sounders. So you really don't know, and you're not aware of how well it is received. Is that my understanding correct?
Yeah, that's true. The only thing I hear is from you. I mean, I don't hear shit. Okay. All right. So all I'm gonna say is that if all I'm doing is hearing what Ted tells me, why the fuck should I believe anything he says after a while? Because I don't hear about it. I mean, I hear.
After all, I'm the one that got the Batcave. Why should you believe me?
Right, well, yeah, well, you know what? We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, we will get to that in a minute, the Batcave, because I wanted that Batcave. At that time, I wanted the Batcave. Little did I know, but look, the main thing is that I don't know what's going on because I only hear it from you. Yes, I see a couple of comments on Twitter. I see a couple of things on Instagram, but other than that, only thing I hear is from you.
Well, Stu, do you know your Twitter account name? Because that was the problem last time.
Yeah, I fucked that up.
Do you happen to know what it is so you can tell people?
You know what?
People can tell
you know what? It's because I use it so infrequently, the Twitter thing. So let me just look it up.
Yeah, you're not big, of course.
I am going to look it up right now, and I'm going to find out what it is. All right, so just give me a fucking
We will, but
here.
it's no surprise. Stu doesn't get to hear about it because he's not very big in the Twitter game. He doesn't do Instagram. He's barely on Facebook. It's just not his thing.
All right, so here it is. You ready? Rigo Fan 44. Can you guess who I'm a fan of? Can you guess who my favorite Redskins player of all time is? I'll give you a hint. It's not Darryl Green, and it's not Art Monk.
Well, you got a Russ Grimm T-shirt on right now.
I do have a Russ Grimm T-shirt.
For a Hall of Famer.
I went to the Hall of Fame, saw him get in. And that was the play, basically, where you had a gazillion Dallas Cowboy fans there cheering on Emmitt Smith. But meanwhile, all they did was trash the Dallas Cowboys and how Russ Grimm ran over Randy White over and over and over again as they ran 50 gut over and over again until Randy White couldn't stand up.
Yeah, they sacked him, and that was it. I mean, it sacked, he fumbled it, and that was all. I mean, it was really a great series and really just turned the corner for the Washington Redskins in a way that had never been turned before. Again, occurring in the very early 80s, because, as you know, that was when we were really part of our youth. And for a lot of people listening right now, they don't remember that era. But, Stu, I have to tell you, the show was very well received. And
cool.
Mentioning that previously, actually on the show, was none other than Chad Dukes, the host of the Chad Dukes Show. And Jimmy, I believe
I didn't
that we
hear
actually,
anything from him either, by the way. So
well, yeah, but again, you're not in the Twitter game, so there's no
Yeah.
way you would know.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
But Jimmy, I believe you have that sounder to play that when Chad talked about it on the show. Do you have that here for us?
I do.
All right, let's fire away.
My wife actually said, "Hey, is the cartoon show up?" And I looked down. I'm like, "Oh yeah, it went up at 2:00. Do you want to listen to that?" And she's like, "I can't wait to listen to it." She doesn't listen. You know how much she listens to that I do? Fuck all. She does not listen to a fucking thing that I do. So some of that's really good. I think it saved our relationship probably more times than it isn't.
Yeah, the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, if she heard the last 7 minutes, I'm guessing that Greenberg and Betterman would be on the fucking blower. But sometimes it hurts my feelings. But she was really excited to listen to Cartoon Face with Tuna and Stu. And within about the first 4 minutes, my fucking eyes are as big as a giant squid's, and she's laughing maniacally, and she's like, "Oh my God, they're fucking geniuses." And I said, No. I'm the genius for fucking coming up with this idea. But they're both very good as well. You and I had many a conversation about how good that we speculated this could possibly be. It had to exceed your expectations.
It was. I heard talent. I heard talent.
No other way to describe it.
The impressions, talented. Ability to call back and pull resources and keep up with talent. They were locked in on the program. Locked in on whatever their prep. This is an expert field.
Well, Ted has hosted many shows, and he hosted shows with morons. Like, when you think about the people that were on Raleigh the Horde, it's Dan Creasy, it's fucking Bobby Shambles. It's like, usually it's dummies on that show, and he had to keep a show moving while that was happening. He had the perfect slot of topics lined up for his fucking brother, and then he contributed also, but I think his job was to tee up Stu, because Stu is the reason why we wanted this show to happen. Is you could tell how insanely fucking passionate Big Stu was about cartoons.
Thank you, Jimmy. Now, Stu, we never played this for you before, but I really want to get your live take on Chad Dukes. As you mentioned, he came up with the idea to do this. And what do you feel about his description about how the show went and how you did?
Well, how could I not be flattered by that? I mean, they were basically, if I didn't know any better, somebody was kissing my ass. But I know that Chad Dukes is a celebrity in himself, so he doesn't have to kiss my ass. So I know that stuff that he was saying was legit, and that's very, very flattering to hear. Not only from him, but his partner sitting next to him there. And what was his name again?
Tor.
Tor.
Yeah, it's actually his regular producer.
Yeah, so both of them were saying some really nice things about me. I'm not used to hearing that kind of shit said about me. Most people don't, most people say, "Oh, hey, Stu, you should do this and you should get into radio." And yeah, I would love to get into radio and I would love to do all that shit, but everyone fucking stabs your back. Okay, and I tried to get into it with Frostburg, but too many people were stabbing.
State University, where you went to college.
Yeah,
right?
people were stabbing me in the back, and I just, you know what? The emotion. Some people have got the guts and the strength to handle that kind of backstabbing. I don't, and I just didn't. So that's why I didn't do it. But when people say nice things about you like that, you got to be truly flattered.
Well, the good news, Stu, is not only did you do a great job on that show, and everyone that listens to this show is really excited. All the solid dudes are very happy with your performance on that show. But we've got a lot more to talk about today. I mean, that was just kind of the beginning. We've got really a lot we'd like to talk about. Jimmy, one of the things, though, I'd like for Stu to also hear is the sounder that is played whenever Stu's name is mentioned or Chad would like to mention his name. Do you happen to have that for him?
Yeah, all set.
All right, let's hear it.
Big Stu Borris.
Look out!
Can I get your take on that?
What the fuck was that? Are you able to play that again?
Big Stu Borris.
Look out! That's funny as shit. Ted, I mean, I don't hear this shit. I don't hear it.
Well, all I can do is tell you about it and send you messages. It's really up to you, obviously,
Yeah, but you
on
don't
social
send me
media.
enough messages. How the fuck am I supposed to know this if you don't tell me about not all the shit? Now, you're telling me some of the shit, and that's great. I want to thank you for telling me about some of it. But, when it's only you that is only you can prevent forest fires. Only you.
Smokey the Bear. Huh?
Yes. Only when it's only you, okay? Eventually you got to say, I got to hear from some other people to really believe this. How do I know Ted, who I love dearly, and I know he loves me, okay? How do I know he's not just being nice to me? How do I know this is really going on? Well, I can tell you before the mics came on, I asked Jim that, if it was real, and he said it was. And then apparently from the clip that I just heard, now I know that it is real, and I'm floored. I'm floored.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's up to the listeners, I think. If you would like to give feedback to Stu, he gave out his Twitter account before the show started.
Rigo Fan 44, RIGGO FAN 44.
So hit Stu up if you got some good comments for him. I'm sure he would love to hear them because apparently just hearing from me is not enough. He's never believed me with anything.
Well, but if it's just one person, okay, yes, I want to believe that it's true. And yes, I do kind of believe it is true. But, I really need to hear it from others, people that don't know me,
Now, the show, though, was not without controversy. There were some issues that came up, and I wanted to tell you about one. And this controversy was raised by Chad himself. And this had to do with the incident we talked about when I was 6 and you were 8, when we had our birthday party out in the family room, or we just met downstairs for our birthday.
Yeah, it was, it was, like I said, it was December, and, our dad liked to mix up everything, even though even though it was our birthday, there was, Christmas time was around there, and God knows every other holiday that's in December, all of it kind of mushed together there. And so we're all excited when we come downstairs. What am I going to get this year? I'm really excited. Ted, what do you think you're going to get? I don't know, Stu. Well, let's go find out. And down the stairs we come. And there, holy shit, you got the Batcave. Yes. Oh, my God. You got all the superheroes. You got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. My fucking God. And what do you got? I got something that I don't know how to use. It's yellow. It's got a long banana seat. And I don't know what the fuck to do with it. I guess I'm supposed to be excited about this. Well,
so
but you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go play with the dolls in the Batcave with Ted. Okay.
Action figures.
Yeah, action figures, whatever you want to fucking call them.
In fact, we went as far as to start dividing them up before Dad intervened and said, no, those are all Ted's. The bike is yours, Stu. That's how that went.
Well, it's kind of like what it was kind of a disappointment. At the same time, it was kind of a combination of feelings, but the two, one was disappointed, the other was Jesus Christ.
So, Stu, the controversy around it, though, and I believe that Chad is not alone in thinking this, is that any kid, whether they know how to ride it in that moment or not, would be thrilled to get a bike, and that they would recognize that a bike is far more valuable than, the real cheap Batcave, which is not cheap anymore if you actually want to get that model, along with all the action figures. That is the big surprise. He was taken aback, as well as a lot of other people were, because they believe that your reaction to something that was really nice that Dad actually did, when you think about it, he probably had to put that bike together himself. He probably didn't buy it. He probably had to assemble it that night, and make sure he kept it hidden so that you didn't see it, and then present you with this nice bike. And your reaction is to go, oh, when Dad says you're getting the bike. That's the problem here.
Well, okay, so let me, I need to explain myself here, is that right?
That's up to you. Go ahead and explain.
Okay, all right, and so basically, Chad, what was his position? Was he, kind of like, I don't understand it, or was he,
his
what the
position
fuck is wrong with Stu?
His position was that any kid would prefer to have the bike.
Yes, any kid would love to have the bike, except, why did you just hold up that number 15?
That's to tell me how much time we're into the show. But
okay.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. All right. So, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Jim
I know why.
By the way,
when
Jim doing his
just
job,
held up the number
no doubt.
15, I didn't know why the fuck he was holding up. Once again, I'm not told about what the fuck goes on around here. All right. So, anyway, now what?
It was
all right. So
I've
got to explain myself here. All right. He would be right. Most kids, and you would be right too, most kids would love to have the bike, except I didn't know how to fucking ride a bike. I had never ridden a bike before. How the fuck am I supposed to be excited about something I have no idea how to use? I've never ridden a bike before. Had no idea the advantages of having a bike. What that basically meant was me and Mark Magnone could ride
Friend
all the
in the
way.
neighborhood. Your friend in the neighborhood.
Mark Magnone and I could ride to the pool in 2 minutes as opposed to taking 15 minutes to walk to Canterbury Woods swimming pool. So, I didn't know any of those because I didn't know how to ride a bike.
Everybody, when they're 8 years old, wants to ride a bike. There's no doubt about it. Whether
If
to learn
you
how to do it.
understand the value of a bike, you're not going to be excited about something that you don't understand
How
the
could you
value
not
of.
understand the value, though? I mean,
Because I've never ridden a bike.
All right. I'm not sure I'm believing this, but I can tell you that I was a witness to all this, and Stu definitely was felt very down and expressed that to Dad after Dad did all of this.
But there's
work
another
to get on the bike.
side to this too. What was the show about the first time? What was it about?
It was
you tell me.
It was about Toons,
Right, but like what's
cartoons
specific,
and,
like
and
this,
Super Friends,
right?
Yes, yeah.
So
we mentioned we were big fans.
loved the Super Friends. We
Yep.
lived, breathed, and ate the Super Friends. We got up in the morning on Saturday. We're really excited about what's Superman going to do today. What's Batman going to do? Yes, we fucking hate the Wonder Twins, but we love Batman. We love Robin. We love Wonder Woman, hot body, and everything. But so we're really into that. And at the same time, I'm supposed to get excited about something I have no idea how to use. So of course, Ted and I are going to share the one thing that he and I were always excited about on Saturday morning. That was watching the Super Friends. Now we get a chance to act out our own stories with our own Super Friends action figures. And so that's what we did. I don't know. We probably played it for at least a couple of hours,
Yeah. And I have to admit, I played with that Batcave for years after that. I mean, I really had to grow out of it. So, in fact, a few years back, I went and bought that Batcave online. It was available. Someone had kept it. And
That's
so I actually
awesome.
had
I remember that. I remember you showed me that. That was very exciting.
Yeah, and
that brought back some memories.
I thought about recollecting the Mego action figures that went through it. Batman and by the way, they made both Marvel and DC. There was no distinction. Like right now, I mean, there's a complete separation between the two. But back then, things kind of ran together a little bit.
Yeah, I think I might have had the Shazam action figure. I know I had a G.I. Joe. I had the Shazam action figure. And I may have.
Did you have the $6 Million Man? I had it, but I
we
don't know if you
both
did.
got it at the same time. And
Right.
this is
Right.
something that I have never lived down.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
All right. So I swear to God, folks, this was not my fault. All right. Our cousin.
Real quick, though, $6 Million Man was a very popular show in the 1970s.
Yes,
with Steve
Lee
Austin.
Majors.
Lee Majors played him. Was married to Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah, you know, Steve Austin, astronaut, a
Man barely alive.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We are going to build the world's first bionic man, better than he was before. Better,
stronger, faster.
No, you got to say the faster part. Faster. Because it's you're like, oh my God, we're freaking out. So so $6 Million Man, he was a guy that crashes into and they figured rather than let him die, they're going to rebuild him into a better version than he was before. Give him an electric, robotic arm, strong legs, an eye that can see from here to Chernobyl. Okay, and and so here he is fighting all these bad guys, and eventually he runs into bad guys that are bionic just like him, and then the shows get all real crazy to the point where they use Andre the Giant to play Bigfoot, right?
Yeah,
Remember that?
True story. Andre the Giant played Bigfoot in that series.
Yeah, no, something really funny about that, and I don't know if you knew this, but I was so scared of Big. I didn't know it was Andre the Giant. I didn't know it was the same guy that you and I saw at the Capitol Center.
I was totally scared when the way they introduced that character just out of the blue, and you remember what he used to say, what Bigfoot, how he would.
Whoa! With they make sure to put the W. Like have you ever heard a bear or a lion ever use the letter W when roaring?
No.
But Andre the Giant did.
Yeah.
I don't think that was really on, but so anyway, so
$6 million
Andre the
man.
Giant. So the story I heard was Andre the Giant was so freaked out by how the kids were so scared of him, and so scared that he went to the Country Music Awards. Did you
Right.
know this?
No, I didn't know this. I don't know the story.
So the Country Music Awards were on. He said, "Look, I want to present myself as Bigfoot in a funny way so that kids will be less scared of me." So at the end of one of the, after this commercial, we'll hear from Willie Nelson, Hank Williams Jr., and Johnny Cash. And then at the so he said, everybody's clapping. And then you see Bigfoot walk across the screen. Like, where the fuck am I? Where am I? Like this. And so, I don't have to be scared of Bigfoot anymore because he was just on the Country Music Awards. And so, so he said, I think I got what I wanted. Kids are less scared of me now. And then they turned him. Then they turned Andre into a good guy on the $6 Million Man. They turned the Bigfoot guy, and so kids were only scared until they started flocking to him. And then, of course, he fought Hulk Hogan at the Capitol Center.
Yeah, and that was it. I mean, a few years later. But so we got the $6 Million Man at the same time. I know that I got it. I did.
Oh yeah,
remember
I forgot
100%.
about that. So so here's the story. Our cousin Scott got us both at the very same time a $6 Million Man. Now the arm that is powered by a crank, all right, and it's tied on like with a rubber band or some kind of piece, like a metal piece or something like that. And then what you're supposed to do is put like something very heavy in $6 Million Man's arm and pull the crank, and
It was
arm,
an engine. It was an engine.
Right, an engine. So and that lifts it. Well, the problem is I started messing around with that arm, and wouldn't you know it, 2 minutes after I got the fucking toy, it broke. And I said,
You
leave
had
it
bad
to
luck.
Stu. Yeah, because, and then, of course, leave it to us to have a father who loves to make sure that we knew. Leave it to Stu to break something 5 minutes after he gets it. So,
Dad can be really he can be very difficult in those circumstances. He's not.
He let me know.
We'll be talking about that a little bit. I want to get into the cartoons a little bit.
All right.
And actually, let's just jump into right now to a cartoon which, honestly, I think might be the funniest cartoon of all time. It probably has my vote right now after watching it, and I watched it over and over again. It was made in 1957.
Yeah.
And it was called Bugsy and Mugsy.
Yes.
And it was really the prequel to the Bugsy and Mugsy episode we talked about last time. Do you recall this episode?
Yeah, well, so are you talking about the one that we talked about last time?
No,
or the
the new one.
Yes, the new one. Yeah. So basically, it's the one where Bugs Bunny is trying to get out of the rain, and so he winds up under the floor of this abandoned a building, or what do you call it? Condemned building. And he's like, look at this, dry as a bone. What more could a rabbit want? And so he's under there looking around, and all of a sudden you hear all this rustling of, and the foot stomping on the floor above him, and he's like looking, what the fuck is going on? And then you see Rocky and Muggsy get in, and he says, hey, boss, I think we shook him. You're a smart guy, boss. He says, turn it on the radio.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite scenes of that episode is where Rocky, just speaking like a 1950s gangster. Gangsters look very different back then.
Yeah,
they wore really nice suits. It's very much the Castellano family type look, where they wore these really nice suits.
Right.
And the Castellano, of course, was in the Gambino family.
Right.
And so he kind of looked like that, but he was very short. And he to tell him to turn on the radio, he doesn't just say turn on the radio like he's supposed to. How did he say it?
He goes, turn it on the radio.
And then
the work is the work of the Rocky, notorious Rocky, and his pal Muggsy. They were last seen. Turn it off the radio.
Okay, boss.
So they decide to go to sleep, but Bugs Bunny overhears a lot of this. So what happens?
So Bugs Bunny realizes that we'd better get some sleep, Muggsy, if we're gonna pull off that job tomorrow. It's like, and that was at a time when bad guys really were the bad guys, and you tried to stop them as opposed to celebrate them like we do today. So, AKA Tony Soprano.
So that was, and I just want to point out, that was part of the World War II influence here, which was where there were good guys and bad guys. There was right and wrong, and so you had to be on one side or the other. There was no gray area with that.
Right, so he says,
episode. We better get some shut-eye, Muggsy, if we're going to pull off that job tomorrow.
He says, okay, boss. And then Bugs hears this, and he says, a job tomorrow? Why, those dirty somebody's going to stop them, and that somebody's going to be me. And then for the rest of the cartoon, Bugs Bunny starts fucking with Muggsy and Bugsy. Or, no, wait, Muggsy and Rocky.
Right, Muggsy and Rocky. It's
Bugs,
confusing.
I get them all mixed up. So Bugs starts fucking with, he doesn't start fucking them. He starts fucking with, Rocky and Muggsy.
So what are some of the things that he did, though? Do you recall?
Well, so like one of the things that he did was he put a phone. Now back in those days, you have to understand this. A telephone wasn't like the receiver where you could talk like into your cell phone, where you have on the same piece where you have the listening device and the microphone at the same time. You would talk into the phone like I'm talking into this microphone, but instead of that, you would actually take a listening piece and
so you had two separate pieces, one for your mouth and one for your ear, right?
He quietly from back behind the couch puts the phone receiver up to Rocky's ear. He says, "Look at that Muggsy."
Rocky's asleep, right?
Rocky is asleep.
Yeah.
Rocky is asleep. Now I don't know if I can do this right the way Muggsy or Rocky did it, but he's got a cigarette in his mouth like this. All right, and this is how you know that he can hear what Bugs is saying. So he's got Rocky is sleeping on the couch, and Bugs puts the telephone receiver into Rocky's ear and he says, "Look at that Muggsy over there. All the while he's getting ideas on how to get rid of you. He's gonna just look at him over there." And so this is what happens. If you look at the cigar, or the cigarette just boom.
The cigar just shoots up in the air.
And he goes,
"That's how you know he's woken up."
So now he's woken up.
Concerned.
He's concerned, and the cigarette is pointing straight up, and because he's crunching his lip, and he says, "All the while, Muggsy's getting ideas." And then so Rocky goes, bum, 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 and just whacks Muggsy right in the face. "That'll line you to get ideas." "But boss, I don't get no ideas." See that you don't. Now go to sleep.
So that's the end of it, right? Nothing else happens.
But then he keeps doing it. He goes, "You're not going to believe that crap that Muggsy just told you. He's over there plotting against you right now. I'll bet right now he's gonna mess you up one way or the other." And so for the rest of the cartoon, okay, Bugs secretly actually hits Rocky or saws the floor out from underneath him, and each time he does it, he makes it look like Muggsy did it to Rocky.
And then so, Rocky progressively...
Rocky gets mad at Muggsy because he thinks that Muggsy, not Bugs, he thinks that Muggsy's fucking with him. He's like, "You know what? I'm the boss here. Muggsy wants to be the boss. Well, I'm not going to allow this, so I'm going to go tie up Muggsy in the other room," ties him up, arms and legs together, and says, "Now just go to sleep." and so he closes, or actually leaves the door open so he can see him. And then Bugs comes under. As I said, Bugs was living under the floor, and so he comes up from underneath where Rocky's chair is, and he saws the chair out, and the chair falls out, and Rocky hits the floor on it, crash, and then Bugs runs it and gives the saw to Muggsy,
who's tied up in the other room.
Tied up in the other room. There's no way that Muggsy could actually do this. No way that Muggsy can. How the fuck? So
Muggsy is tied up, and Bugs puts the saw in his hands to make it look like he did it.
Right.
So what happens?
And so then Rocky goes and he sees Muggsy with the saw in his hand, and he says, "I don't know how you've done it, but I know you've done it."
So then that's the end, right? Nothing else happens. That everybody's learned their lesson.
No, no.
That's not.
And
what
then,
I
of course, one more thing is that Bugs puts a pair of roller skates onto Muggsy, and then proceeds. Of course, what are the wheels made out of, Ted?
They're made out of some sort of metal, I think.
Right, and what attracts metal?
A magnet.
Right. So Bugs comes from underneath where Muggsy has the roller skates on with a powerful magnet and proceeds to grasp from under the floor the roller skates and pulls Muggsy towards, hey, Muggsy, get off of them roller skates. And too late, because here comes Muggsy full speed and crashes into the into Rocky, and he is, oh, so that's how you're gonna, why, you dirty! And he punches him and back and forth. He says, so then Rocky is then trying to control Muggsy, but Muggsy is under control of Bugs Bunny
because of the magnet, right?
Because of the magnet, and he keeps slamming Muggsy into Rocky, and each time all you see is the Bugs running with the magnet under the floor, but you hear from up above, why you dirty? And then back and forth, and then the camera pans out. You hear the police coming, and you see the condemned building shaking. Each one of them is it's either Muggsy punching. It's either Rocky punching Muggsy, or Muggsy slamming into Rocky. It's one of those two things, and it's shaking the whole building. The police, of course, see this. And but that's not all they see, and they end up arresting Rocky and Muggsy and taking him away. And at the very end, when they're in the car, they're riding in the police car. Rocky says, "I wonder how it is that they found out where we was." I don't know, but boss. And Rocky just goes and beats the living shit out of Muggsy.
Rocky thinks that Muggsy sold him out.
Yeah, Rocky thinks that Muggsy sold him out. And in reality, and then at the very end, right after that, you see, isn't it wonderful what a couple of lights and some wire will do for you? And you look up and you see Rocky and Muggsy's hideout blinking
on the condemned
back.
building.
That's how the police found out. And at the very end, you find out that Bugs Bunny had been fucking with Rocky and Muggsy all along, and then he got him arrested, and that got him taken away. The bad guys were put away.
So in 2 episodes in a row with Muggsy and Rocky, they basically get arrested by the police, and they're taken away, which is really great. The thing I want to do, though, is this entire episode is available online. You can find it. It's 1957, Bugsy and Muggsy.
Funny as shit.
The scene that Stu described. Now, you guys have talked about Yikes and Away before. You've talked about it. Chad talked about it on the show. That's an extremely funny scene. But I have to tell you, watching Bugs go up and down the floorboards with the magnet over and over again, with the crashing and the building erupting when that happens.
Why you dirty?
I cannot speak enough about this cartoon. They do not make them like this today. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, once again, what made the cartoons so much better back then than they are now is they were mostly action, okay? And with just the right amount of words to complement the action. And now it's all about, let's just keep talking as much as we can and ha and that kind of funny shit. And which is fine.
Yeah,
okay?
Clever jokes.
Clever jokes, and that's fine. But it's too complicated now. It's not, as silly as it. Yes, The Simpsons are funny, and The Family Guy's funny, but it's a different kind of funny.
Absolutely. Now, I also want to talk about another Bugs Bunny episode, and this featured another character. And I'm going to introduce this by just saying 2 words. Those 2 words are Hassan Shop.
Alibaba Bunny. The
Yes.
name of he says, at the very beginning of the episode, of that episode, you see the little guy, the little sheik who's going to be riding away on a little camel, and he says, "Guard this treasure, O Hassan, or the jackal shall grow fat on thy carcass." And then you hear, "No one shall pass Hassan." And then all of a sudden, so he's guarding the he's guarding the cave that has all this treasure in it, and then you see the ground start, moving. As you can see that usually what that means is Bugs Bunny is digging his way to wherever he's going, and they end up digging their way right to Hassan's sword, and he crashes as he's digging. He crashes into Hassan's sword, and he ouch!
Not unlike how he found Napoleon, as I recall. Very similar.
Well, yeah, kind of like the same way, but the Napoleon thing is a whole funny. I think Napoleon had like a really one of those needle type swords.
That's how he found it.
This was a big, thick sword that Hassan had.
Right.
I mean, it was a really big, like Ned Stark kind of sword.
Yes.
Okay, we're not fucking around kind of sword. And Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck crash into that sword underground because the sword is sticking into the ground, and Bugs and Daffy, who are under the ground, crash into the sword. Obviously, the sword is very sharp, and Bugs Bunny, of course, dong, ouch. And then they just go around
I have to tell you, though, when that episode, the first time I saw it, I actually do remember it, the excitement, because Bugs Bunny is coming, right? Because you can see the dirt.
Right.
But the fact that Daffy was there, too, you're just going, oh, my God, this is going to be the greatest episode of all time, and it was.
Well, you didn't know it at first. All you knew was that Bugs Bunny had crashed into the sword and then went around the sword under the cave. And then Hassan sees that Bugs Bunny, or he doesn't know it's Bugs Bunny, but whoever it is has now buried his way into where Hassan was supposed to protect. Okay, no one shall pass Hassan. Well, somebody just passed Hassan. And now he's like, oh, my God, I've got to be able to get into that door. So Hassan forgot the words to open the door. The words were, of course, open sesame. And he says, open. So he forgot the word. He's trying to think of the word. Open septuagenarian. Open saddle soap. Open sarsaparilla. And so finally you see, and then, of course, they go into the cave. They pan off Hassan, who's trying to get
You're killing Jimmy over here, by the way. I don't know if he's going to make it through the episode.
And he's trying. Well, I'm sorry, Jim. If you can,
that's all right.
just hang in there, okay? Just hang in there. Continue to do the great job that you're doing. So now the camera pans away from Hassan, who's trying to guess the password to open the door so he can get in and stop the thieves. And meanwhile, those two thieves happen to be Bugs and Daffy.
Yep.
And then the first words, they come up from the ground, and he says, this don't look like Pismo Beach to me. And of course, the Bugs Bunny famous line is, I knew I should have made that left turn at Albuquerque. Maybe you made another turn at La Jolla. This doesn't look right. And then you see Daffy comes up, what a wait for a duck to travel underground. And then he's like, well,
and that to me was like the NWO showing up all at one time. It was the greatest moment of my life, Daffy popping up right there.
Right, and so he's talking to the Bugs, and then all of a sudden, you see Daffy's eyes go, dong! And you say, what could Daffy be looking at? And then all of a sudden, the camera pans away from Bugs and Daffy, and you see what Daffy is looking at. It's the just giant amount of treasure. And I said, well, maybe we should. And then Daffy, of course, the greedy slob that he is, he says, no, it's mine. Damn, it's mine. It's mine. It's all mine. Down. Go. Mine.
I have to say, again, another incredibly funny moment was watching Daffy stare in the middle. It looks like he's staring at nowhere for 10 solid seconds.
Right.
Just staring, and then you see that he's staring at the goal.
You hear what sounds like wind chimes or something like that, and his eyes are going, and then you see the treasure. And so Bugs is who doesn't give a shit about the treasure. He just wants to get to Pismo Beach. That's all he wants to do. But, Daffy sees the treasure. He doesn't want anyone else to have the treasure because he is a greedy slob, Daffy Duck is. And so he then stamps Bugs Bunny down into the dirt and says, it's mine. I'm a wealthy. I'm rich. I'm wealthy. I'm comfortably well off.
So he just takes the gold and leaves, and that's the end of the episode.
Well,
right?
no, that's not, because then Hassan finally, you see him. The camera goes back outside to where Hassan is. Open silly soap. I open, and he finally
Still guessing passwords.
Still guessing password. Everything that begins with S. Open soupy Sam or whatever he said. He says open sesame, and of course, boom, that's right. And the door begins to open, and then of course Hassan goes in to get the two of them to he's going to kill them because these are thieves and he's
he's protecting the gold.
Right. And so he says, and he thinks he's a bellboy or something like he thinks because he thinks, hey, bellboy, get me another card. I think I've got all the treasure in here, but can you go get me another card so that I can make sure that I get all the treasure out of here? And then Hassan takes his sword and boom into the top of thank God Daffy had a helmet on, okay, like a mining helmet, because that's what he was doing underground. He had I don't know where he came up with the mining. That's the other thing about these cartoons. They always come up with shit. Where the fuck did he get that mining helmet from? It's not like they were.
Now why Daffy, who is in the middle of a desert inside of a cave, thinks that there's a bellhop there to serve him is completely beyond my imagination, but.
Well, he does, and he's like, oh, maestro, or what does he call him? Bellhop?
Garçon, maybe?
Marson or something. Like, Marson, go get me, please, go get me another card, because I'm not sure I have a big enough card to get this treasure. I'm going to go do that. Yeah, you're going to do it? Okay. And, and then Hassan, once, he's not putting up with any of this shit, cracks Daffy across the head with the sword, but thank God Daffy has the helmet on, because it pretty much stops the sword from cutting him in half, but it does cut his little hair on the top of his head.
And they're drawing this frame by frame.
It's like, and then Daffy looks at him and realizes that like this guy's not there to help him, and he goes, help me, Bugsy! Help me, friend! And it's all right. And so
does he go, keep your shirt on?
Keep your shirt on. No. And me, Genie, with the light brown hair. He's like, Genie says, wouldst thou like this treasure for thy very own? Oh, yes, a sunlight. Well, very well. Do you guys remember this? Do you remember where he starts doing all this? Iggity aggity oop, slippity sloppity sloop, slippity ploppity, biggity aggity oop. It's yours. That's Son-like! And Son goes diving into the treasure, and he goes, iggity aggity oop, squeak. And walks away.
Daffy just accepts it, right? He just says, well, it's not my gold now, so I'm out of here.
No, he doesn't quite do that. But he I don't. The other thing is, I know that he's not going to stand for. So he takes something, and I think what happens is Hassan chases him, right?
Yes.
He takes something and he chases him, but not before Daffy finds a genie. A real genie in the bottle, right? Isn't that what happens?
He took the lamp and was chasing him around.
Right. So he finds a lamp and he goes, it's maybe not very impressive as the other treasure is, but it might be worth 2 bits on the open market. And so he starts shining it up, and out comes the genie. Me, Genie, with the light brown hair. Well, Daffy, who's already seen Bugs do this bit, isn't going to put up with this genie.
With an actual genie.
Genie. He's just, oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. You want my treasure. Well, you're not going to get it. Ding, get down, 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 down. Mine, mine, mine. Go, go, go. And just as the genie is being forced back into the lamp, the genie gets really pissed at Daffy. Duck. You have desecrated the spirit of the lamp, which scares the living shit out of Bugs Bunny, who then goes to run and hide in the hole. He goes, prepare to meet the consequences. And he goes, consequences, as long as I'm rich. And then he ends up, shooting him with electricity. And then the very next scene, you see Bugs Bunny is like at Pismo Beach, right? And he's like, oh, look at that. He has an oyster with a poil. And he goes, and you hear, mine, a little tiny little Daffy. Mine, go, 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 mine. I'm rich. I'm a wealthy miser. He's just holding the paw, and then Bugs Bunny closes the clam onto Daffy, and that's the end of the episode.
Ali Baba Bunny, just absolutely hilarious episode, and this is the type of cartoon that we watched all the time. The kids don't get to watch, as you mentioned.
Hassan Chop. That's they probably, the best part about that whole thing, the one thing you remember more than anything else from that cartoon is Hassan Chop.
So they're playing out sort of a desert scene, with a genie. There's another episode featuring both Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny that involved another story that's kind of famous called Jack of the Beanstalk.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have a file on that one?
Yeah. This is one where basically Daffy Duck is Jack. Okay, and he's the one that at the very beginning sells the cow away for the beans, and he throws the beans down into Bugs Bunny's hole, where the beanstalk grows out of Bugs's hole, carrying everything, including Bugs Bunny, up to the sky. And of course, Daffy sees this and says, "Oh, this is Jack and the Beanstalk. There's a treasure up there waiting for me." And of course, the greedy slob that Daffy Duck was in Ali Baba Bunny, same Daffy Duck, wants the treasure from the top of the clouds. So he then proceeds, I'm gonna go up there to get it. And he goes and he sees Bugs Bunny sleeping in his bed, right? He's like, "What's up, Duck?" And he says, "Oh, no, you don't. You want my treasure." just like Ali Baba Bunny. And he kicks the bed. Pong! Kicks the bed with his foot. And the bed goes flying. And I don't remember exactly what Bugs Bunny said after he landed and, dusted himself off. But he said something like to the effect of, this is going to generate some kind of response from me.
He often says, "This means war."
This means war. And so the two of them go up to the sky where they meet the giant, who is none other than Elmer Fudd.
Yes, another famous character.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. And of course he ends up encountering Daffy and Bugs, and of course, just like Daffy was afraid of Hassan, he's now also afraid of the giant Elmer Fudd, and starts trying to convince that Elmer Fudd, the giant, that Bugs Bunny is the one that he wants and not himself, when he, of course, is Jack, and he is the one that the giant is after. So what Bugs Bunny then tends to do, look, come here, Doc, come on. This is you're the giant in Jack and the Beanstalk, right? Well, yes. And he goes, now, in Jack and the Beanstalk, the giant wasn't after no rabbit, was he? Well, no. He was after Jack. Well, this is Jack. No, he's lying. He's lying. He's Jack. He's Jack. Jack Rabbit. And, oh, no, you are Jack. No, you're wrong. You're Jack. Oh, no, it is true because it is a fact. And so
Elmer Fudd
is getting tired of waiting, just like he was in like some of the episodes. I'm tired of waiting here. So he says, "I'm gonna take your boat and I'm gonna grind your bones." And then the next episode he shows the saw. He goes, "Oh, this should grind their bones very nicely." And so he goes from "I'm gonna grind your bones" to "this should grind their bones very nicely." And he's like, "Well, I'll tell you what, he's a scary giant, but I guess not so scary after all."
So the episode's called Beanstalk Bunny.
Right, and then there's one scene. So he, he's getting the saw ready, and he's got to hold Daffy and Bugs. He doesn't want him getting away, so he puts them in this glass jar. And they're stuck in the glass jar, and all you see now. I don't know if the video can catch me doing this, but basically you see Daffy yelling at Bugs. Bugs is sitting there like this, not moving, and all you see is Daffy going.
You can't hear him, right?
He's like, and then he just gets tired of yelling at Bugs, and then the two of them are looking like this. And then the next thing you see is Bugs Bunny pulls out a glass cutter, and Daffy Duck then sees the glass cutter, knows it's the way out of the jar, and then proceeds to kiss Bugs Bunny on the forehead, and then the two of them escape, and then the rest of the cartoon happens after that.
Yeah, so just a fantastic episode. A lot of really hijinks. Of course, Bugs is really getting over quite a bit, I would say, on Daffy to some degree. I wanted to talk about a couple of actually real-life memories that you might have, Stu.
Yeah.
It has occasionally been talked about on this show, the situation, and everyone's heard about it, where I got run over by the garbage truck and my leg was all busted and the ambulance crashed on the way to the hospital. Eventually, I got out of the hospital and I got out of the body cast.
This was a very difficult time.
Yeah. And so Dad just said, you know what, as we were called, Dad said, you know what, Ted, you can just relax for a while. You don't have to do anything athletic for a while. That was his reaction, right?
Well, I mean, so, you think that Dad's got it all figured out, right? You think that Dad's the end-all to be-all to smart. He knows what's going on. The doctors have told him everything's going to be okay. He's ready to go back in the pool. I don't know if the doctors actually told Dad that it was safe for you to go back in the pool. That, you know what, here's a guy that just got busted up big time by a garbage truck, basically this close to death, and you're telling me that it was a few months later you're going to throw him back into a pool? Now, I, of course, looked at our dad as, he was a guy that, well, if Dad doesn't know the answer, nobody does. Dad is, I probably had a little more respect for him than you kind of knew about him long before I did, about how not smart he was. But I thought he was a smart guy. I really did. And so when he threw you in the pool, I thought everything was going to be fine, because obviously Dad knows what he's doing. He wouldn't do something to hurt Ted.
Right, and I was perfectly fine after he threw me in the pool, right?
No, you were not. No.
What do you recall from that
So
day?
let me tell you this.
I'm 9 years old.
I just happened to be there. I was a loafer. I mean, I was supposed to be swimming back and forth. But a lot of times I would take a break in the middle of the pool, maybe clean up my goggles, maybe catch my breath and just goof around. I wasn't the best swimmer in the world, but I just happened to be standing up in the middle of the pool, and I saw Dad throw you into the pool. And I thought that everything would be fine because, obviously Ted is ready to get back into it. And I want to tell you, the screaming that you did when you landed, and it wasn't just one scream. It was over and over, and crying and screaming and pain. And Dad had no choice at that point to jump in the pool and grab you and pull you out of there. And the whole time I'm looking at this and like, what's going on? This isn't supposed to be happening. His leg is supposed to be all better. Why is he hurting? What's going on? Well, I mean, I didn't really realize, Ted, that Dad threw you back into the pool far too soon.
Literally,
not only should he not have thrown you in when he did, he should have waited longer, and even after waiting longer, he should have just let you slide into the pool carefully instead of throwing you back in the pool so that you would land on a very weakened leg.
In a swimming competition, literally just a few days after I'd gotten out of the body cast.
And I just didn't realize it. All I could think of at the time was, what's going on here? The leg is supposed to be healed now, right? This isn't supposed to be happening. Well, I come to find out later on that the leg was really a long way from being back to where it needs to be to land on a hard floor of a swimming pool. So, yeah. I mean, and so I just remember it was one of the few times, Ted, maybe really the only time where I really heard you cry in a lot of pain like that. I mean, you were in a lot of pain.
It took a lot of that, though, to get Dad to take me to the hospital. He didn't immediately take me. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I was in the pool and I didn't see what happened. I was basically told by the coach to get back to swimming, so I just did, and I don't know what happened after that. I mean, you would know better. I mean,
my ankle was broken, and as everyone knows, with the wet cast, Dad's reward back to me was to take me to see Frank Sinatra. As you recall,
right?
Mom didn't want to go, so that was the present to me. With a wet cast, walking up the steps of the Capitol Center, and
you got to see Frank Sinatra while you were.
Yeah, it's interesting. All these years later, I appreciate that now.
Well, while you were in the hospital, Ted, John Denver came to the Capitol Center,
right?
And Mom and Dad and I don't think Dana was there. Okay, I don't think Dana was.
She was only like 3 years old.
Yeah, she wasn't. She was probably back with a babysitter. So it was me, Dad, and
Dana's
Mom.
our sister, by the way.
Right. Me, Dad, and Mom were at the Capitol Center, and John Denver had a stage right in the very middle He didn't have an end stage. It was right in the middle, so the whole Capitol Center went all around him, and all the floor seats went all the way right up to him. So basically, he had this little stage, and he could just walk around in a circle, addressing all the fans all around the Capitol Center arena.
I think the stage actually revolved. I think it went
I think it
around
did.
circles,
I think it did. But I knew
what
there was
remember
this
being
one
told.
point. Now, this is where I realized that John Denver wasn't the complete, oh shucks kind of guy that he was making himself out to be, because he started singing "Thank God I'm a Country Boy," and he goes, well, oh, everybody clap your hands, and dong dong, and he goes, well, oh, stop. He goes, you people need to. When I tell you to clap your hands, I don't mean you clap over there and then you clap over there at a different time and you clap over, because what I'm hearing is like a gallop, and he proceeded to do this horse galloping sound. A horse galloping sound doesn't work if you're trying to sing "Thank God I'm a Country Boy." So everybody please clap together at the same time. And so, of course, we were all laughing. Ha, 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 ha. Listen to John Denver be funny with the fans. Ha, 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 ha. And so that's what I remember from that concert.
But Dad could be a very difficult person. I mean, he obviously had a great time at that concert. He always was somebody that wanted us to believe that he was something more than he was. And I don't know why. He actually was. He worked for the government for 30 years.
Yeah.
He worked for the Department of the Navy.
Yep.
He was a ticket scalper, and he refereed basketball and was actually very good at it. Was commissioner of basketball referees. But there's been a new entry into things where Dad wanted us to believe that he was something that he was not. Very recently, actually 2 weekends ago, my brother and I went down to Florida to visit him, and also, of course, my sister is there. My dad, while we were in the car, Stu now knows what we're getting to here. While we were in the car, my dad asked me about my guns. And I said, and I started describing it to him. I said, I've got a 6 Sauer, I've got a Glock, and I was very happy with them. I keep them in the house. And I said, Dad, I don't understand. I know you like guns, and you live in Florida, and I understand the rules are pretty easy to get guns down there. Why don't you do it? And he said, well, I don't have any guns, but I had them in earlier life. And I'm like, oh, really? I don't remember you having guns in the house. When did you have them? You talk about when you were Army? And he goes, no. After that, I had guns. And I'm like, well, tell me about it. And he goes, no, I just don't want to get into it. And I tried to push him on it, and he wouldn't tell me. Well, a few hours later, my brother-in-law, the guy that's married to my sister, his name is Wes, said, Ted, I think I know what he's talking about. And I said, well, what's he talking about, Wes? And Wes says to me, about 2 years ago, your dad came to me and he said, I want you to know something about me, but don't tell Ted and Stu, because they won't believe me. All right. And Wes goes, okay. My dad goes, well, my working for the government was actually just a cover. It was just a cover. Actually, what I was a secret agent in Navy intelligence. And I carried a gun, and I went on special missions as a spy. That's really what I was doing. And so for 2 years, Wes never told us, but he finally did tell us then.
Wait a minute. He told him that 2 years ago?
Yeah, well, that was 2 years ago. Maybe you didn't know that part.
Wes has been keeping this from us for 2 years?
Yeah, he actually did a good job of not telling us. And my dad actually was very smart. He didn't tell us because he knew that we could verify that he didn't do this, that I'd been to his office many times. It was just a normal government employee's office. He wants us, he's now 86 years old, he wants us to believe, once again, that he was this incredible spy. So maybe at his funeral or something in years, we will say what an amazing person he was.
Let me tell you what he was. Okay, here was a guy who this is all you need to know about him. My dad would take us to the Capitol Center. Okay, this is important, Jim. All right, so my dad would take Ted and I to the Capitol Center. He says, "Come on, we're going to go to the Caps game. Come on, we're going to the Bullets game." And now listen, I need you guys. Okay, Ted, Stu. I'm going to be out there holding the tickets up in the air. I got to scalp these tickets, okay? We're going to, you've seen the ticket scalpers outside of Nationals Park and outside of RFK, outside of FedEx Field, well, that's what Dad did. He would hold the tickets up, and he said, listen, they have mounted police walking around, and if they catch me, I'm going to get in trouble. So what I need you to do, Ted and Stu, I need you to watch out for the mounted police and come and tell me when the mounted police are coming so that I can stop this and then I won't get in trouble. Okay?
We would go to another part of the outside of the Capitol Center. We were stationed So
We
could
were
see
stationed-
the police on horseback coming towards Dad, so we could run up and warn him that the
So
police
think
were
about
coming.
this. Your father asks you to basically be the lookout for mounted police, okay? Guns and everything on these police, mind you. And we're supposed to go and tell him, and we do all this work for him, freezing our ass off outside the Capitol Center while he's
dead of winter. It'd be 10 degrees outside.
10 degrees outside, and then we're doing this so that we're ready to go see the Capitals game. We're ready to go see the Bullets game. Now that we're done doing our work that Dad asked us to do, we're ready to go see the game. Let's go in. No, Ted and Stu are going home. Why are we going home? Because I sold the tickets that we were going to use.
Oh my God.
So we just have to go. You're telling me that we stood out there in the cold, 0 degrees, watching, keeping your ass out of trouble, keeping your ass out of jail, and you're not even going to let us go into the game? What the fuck, Dad? Now, we didn't say that. We didn't have the balls to do that at the time, but that's certainly what I was thinking.
There's no one word of that got out, and we would get smacked. There'd be no.
Oh
doubt,
yeah,
so.
we weren't allowed to say anything about it.
Yeah.
But once again, as I said before, there were 2 responses I had. One was the one I just had. The other, once again, was Jesus Christ.
So
now
Dad,
there was one time where he did that. Okay, there was one time where I had to take and I said, Dad, this isn't fair. I've got to go to the bathroom. Dad, I really have to go to the bathroom. And I'm just a little kid. Okay, he says, no, we're going to go home. You can hold it until we get home. I said, no, Dad, if you take me home now, there's going to be bathroom all over your seats. All right, Stu, God damn it, Stu, I can't take you anywhere. And meanwhile, yes, you need me, Dad, to watch out for mounted police. Okay, so don't tell me that you can't take me anywhere. If I need to go to the bathroom, the least you could do is talk to somebody so that I can use the bathroom. Well, he eventually agreed with me, and he took me into the bathroom, let me go in. He talked to one of the ticket guards there and let me in to use the bathroom. And then, of course, I came out, and we went home. And I can't tell you how many times, Ted, and you remember this, all right, where we were all psyched up to go see the Caps, to go see the Bullets, sitting in the skybox, sitting in the season tickets, wherever they were on that particular evening, only to find out that we were going to have to go home because he sold our tickets.
That was my dad, the secret agent Stan.
What the fuck, secret agent Stan? The only thing that you kept secret was how stupid you were. Anyway, I old memories.
Big Stu, it has been an absolute pleasure to have this show here with you today, to be able to share these memories that we've had with you. I'm very, very thrilled that you're able to do this show.
And as we used to say back in old Mexico City, AMF!
So thank you very much, Stu, for appearing. Jim, thank you again for agreeing to take care of the show for us today.
My pleasure.
For Big Stu, for Jim Jester, I am Hot Man Ted, Hot Tuna. Thank you very much for joining us on Toon Talk.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, that's all, folks.